meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a Big Bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The Big Bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything.
Of one session, six.
Let's look at now.
One. Themselves a great day. Hopefully everything's working. You guys can give me a heads up if for some reason you can't hear me, but you should be good. We've got another Law of One session. We're doing, well, two of them, I should say. Session 63 and session 64 we will be covering today. Some fun stuff in there. And we do have a question already, and I'm not going to get to it yet. I'm going to play through the session first, but we had a couple interesting questions from Think, who's not able to be here tonight because of a new work schedule or something to that effect. So we will talk about that coming up, and then any other questions you guys have. Also, at the end of this, we'll be offering the StreamYard link in the chat, the live chat, and I think we can take up to 15 people, something to that extent. 5 will be backstage, 10 will be on stage, and it's not live. We're not broadcasting. It's just hanging out. But if you guys want to do that, hang to the end. It's on the outro. I'll go ahead and share that link. Outside of that, we'll get there. Okay, 63, session 63, talks about vital energy. Vital energy is really important. There's another individual out there, Pet, was talking about how he had a tough week last week as well. Me too. Obviously, I'm coming back from that and in a lot better place, but still got some sinus. You can hear it. And still a little bit of coughing and stuff, but I'm much, much better. Infection's gone. Life is moving on. We're good. But a lot of that was a hardcore last week. Last week was a tough week. And that vital energy we've got to pay attention to. And that was one of the things I was having issues with, was sleeping properly. You got to pay attention, and they'll trick you, or they'll take advantage of the weakness or the chink in the armor, if you will. So be aware. Vital energy is super important. We also talk about the loss of the yellow ray. This transition, this movement, ascension, whatever, graduation, the yellow ray is going to kind of disappear. So you're still going to have your red, you're still going to have your orange, but now you're going to have green. I also think blue is coming into play, but that'll get down the road. That's more fifth density. But the red, orange, green is what's going to happen, and yellow is going to start to fade away. And yellow is really ego through power over others. And as we start to remove the service to self concept of that angle, it's going to change the need for that, right? So we'll probably still have slight tinges of orange, if you will, maybe, but ultimately it's going to be yellow, because yellow is the singular version of the power and power of experience of power versus something else. And there's no need to have power over something else per se, or other people. So it's a slightly different thing. That's kind of fun. They spend a little time on that. Third dimension, or density body, if you will, they're saying, is going to die. And the fourth density body will remain. I think this is kind of what a lot of them talk about with the great flash, the idea that there's going to be this moment where something's going to happen and you're either going to make it through that, or maybe, that's like the rapture or something, right? You're one of the people that kind of gets raptured away. And that's cool. Either way, whatever side you're on of that. For those that experience it and live through it, that's going to be the fourth dimension. Your fourth density body's already activated and conscious enough that it won't matter that your third D body just kind of dropped, because you won't be aware of it. You'll still be conscious of the fact that you've ascended. And this is kind of the equivalent of passing over. It's, the Mayans, they say they disappeared, right? So this is the concept of passing over to the other side consciously. So that is what we're doing, literally. We're doing what the Mayans did. The Mayans just disappeared, everyone said. Yeah, their third density bodies dropped. Their fourth D bodies made it. And that was probably, honestly, the last actual 25,000 year ago ascension, if you will. So this is part of what we're dealing with right now when it comes to the changes that are happening. And frankly, folks, I don't think they're that far away. I'm year 2, 3, 4. I think we're a lot closer. I'm curious at the end of this series how close it actually ties in. I've always wondered, because it was the strange timing. All said, the concept of dual bodies, actually we have many bodies, but the dual body between third density and fourth density is something they also explore a lot in this particular episode, and I think it's super cool. So that said, all of that, we're going to kick off session 63, and it's right here. It's Law of One on the Fringe. 3, recorded July 18th, 1981. Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now. Questioner, could you give me an indication of the condition of the instrument? Ra, I am Ra. This instrument's vital energies are at the distortion which is normal for this mind-body-spirit complex. The body complex is distorted due to psychic attack in the area of the kidneys and urinary tract. There is also distortion continuing due to the distortion called arthritis. You may expect this psychic attack to be constant, as this instrument has been under observation by negatively oriented forces for quite some time. Questioner, was the original problem with the kidneys some 25 years ago caused by psychic attack? Ra, I am Ra. This is only partially correct. There were psychic attack components to the death of this body at that space-time. However, the guiding vibratory complex in this event was the will of the instrument. This instrument desired to leave this plane of existence as it did not feel it could be of service. Questioner, you are saying that the instrument itself then created the kidney problem at that time? Ra, I am Ra. The instrument's desire to leave this density lowered the defenses of an already predisposed weak body complex, and an allergic reaction was so intensified as to cause the complications which distorted the body complex towards unviability. The will of this instrument, when it found that there was indeed work to be done in service, was again the guiding factor, or complex, of vibratory patterns, which kept the body complex from surrendering to dissolution of the ties which caused the vitality of life. Questioner, is the necessity for the instrument to go to the bathroom several times before a session due to the psychic attack? Ra, I am Ra. In general, this is incorrect. The instrument is eliminating from the body complex the distortions leaving of the material which we use for contact. This occurs variably, sometimes beginning before contact. Other workings, this occurs after the contact. In this particular working, this entity is experiencing the aforementioned difficulties, causing the intensification of that particular distortion condition. Questioner, I know that you have already answered this question, but I feel it my duty now to ask it each time in case there is new development. And that is there anything that we can do that we aren't doing to lessen the effectiveness of psychic attack upon this instrument? Ra, I am Ra. Continue in love and praise and thanksgiving to the Creator. Examine previous material. Love is the great protector. Questioner, could you give me a definition of vital energy? Ra, I am Ra. Vital energy is the complex of energy levels of mind, body, spirit. Unlike physical energy, it requires the integrated complexes vibrating in a useful manner. The faculty of will can, to a variable extent, Replace missing vital energy, and this has occurred in past workings as you measure time in this instrument. This is not recommended. At this time, however, the vital energies are well nourished in mind and spirit, although the physical energy level is, in and of itself, low at this time. Questioner, would I be correct in guessing that vital energy is a function of the awareness or bias of the entity with respect to its polarity or general unity with the creator or creation? Ra, I am Ra. In a non-specific sense, we may affirm the correctness of your statement. The vital energy may be seen to be the deep love of life or life experiences, such as the beauty of creation and the appreciation of other selves, and the distortions of your co-creators, making which we are of beauty. Without this vital energy, the least distorted physical complex will fail and perish. With this love, or vital energy, or Elan, the entity may continue through the physical complex is greatly distorted. Questioner, from last session, I would like to continue with a question about the fact that in fourth density, red, orange, and green energies will be activated, yellow, blue, etc. being in potentiation. Right now, you say we have green energies activated. They have been activated for the last 45 years. I am wondering about the transition through this period so that the green is totally activated and the yellow is in potentiation. What will we lose as the yellow goes from activation into potentiation? And what will we gain as the green comes into total activation? And what is that process? Ra, I am Ra. It is misleading to speak of gains and losses when dealing with the subject of the cycles ending and the green ray cycle beginning upon your sphere. It is to be kept in the forefront of the faculties of intelligence that there is one creation in which there is no loss. There are progressive cycles for experiential use by entities. We may now address your query. As the green ray cycle, or the density of love and understanding, begins to take shape, the yellow ray plane or earth, which you now enjoy in your dance, will cease to be inhabited for some period of your space-time, as the space-time necessary for fourth density entities to learn their ability to shield their density from that of third is learned. After this period, there will come a time when third density may again cycle on to the yellow ray sphere. Meanwhile, there is another sphere congruent to a great extent with a yellow ray forming. This fourth density sphere coexists with the first, second, and third. It is of a denser nature due to the rotational core atomic aspects of its material. We have discussed this subject with you. The fourth density entities which incarnate at this space-time are fourth density in the view of experience, but are incarnating in a less dense vehicles due to the desire to experience and aid in the birth of the fourth density upon this plane. You may note that the fourth density entities have a great abundance of compassion. Questioner, now, at present we have a third density incarnation on this plane. Those third density entities of the planet Earth who have been here for some number of incarnations who will graduate in the three-way split, either positive polarity remaining the fourth density experience on this plane, the negative polarity, harvestable going to another planet, and the rest harvestable third density going to another third density planet. In addition to these entities, I am assuming that we have here already some entities harvestable from other third density planets who have come here and incarnated in third density form to make the transition with this planet into fourth density, plus wanderers. Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct, except we may note a small point. The positively oriented harvested entities will remain in this planetary influence, but not upon this plane. Questioner, now, we have, I believe, if I remember correctly, I think you said there were 600 million wanderers approximately. Am I correct in that memory? Ra, I am Ra. This is approximately correct. There is some excess to that amount. There's a correction on that. The correct number in 1981 was somewhat in excess of 60 million. Ra and Don corrected their mistake in session 64. So we'll come up to that in the next one. Questioner, does that number include the harvestable third density who are coming to this planet for the fourth density experience? Ra, I am Ra. No. Questioner, approximately how many here now who have come from other planet third density harvestable for fourth density experience? Ra, I am Ra. This is a recent, shall we say, phenomenon, and the number is not yet in excess of 35,000 entities. Questioner. Now, these entities incarnate into a third density vibratory body. I am trying to understand how this transition takes place from third to fourth density. I will take the example of one of these entities of which we are speaking, who is now in a third density body. He will grow older, and then will be necessary that he die from the third density physical body and reincarnate into a fourth density body for that transition? Ra. I am Ra. These entities are those incarnating with what you may call a double body in activation. It will be noted that the entities birthing these fourth density entities experience a great feeling of, shall we say, the connection and the use of spiritual energies during pregnancy. This is due to the necessity for manifesting the double body. This transitional body is one which will be, shall we say, able to appreciate fourth density vibratory complexes as the instreamings increases without the accompanying disruption of the third density body. If a third density body entity were, shall we say, electrically aware of fourth density in full, the third density electrical field would fail due to incompatibility. To answer your query about death, these entities will die according to third density necessities. Questioner. You are saying then that for the transition from third to fourth density for one of these entities with doubly activated bodies, in order to make the transition, the third density body will go through the process of what we call death? Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. The third and fourth combination density body will die according to the necessity of third density mind-body-spirit complex distortions. We may respond to the heart of your question by noting that the purpose of such combined activation of mind-body-spirit complexes is that such entities, to some extent, consciously are aware of those fourth density understandings which third density is unable to remember due to the forgetting. Thus, fourth density experience may be begun with the added attraction to an entity towards service to others of dwelling in a troubled third density environment and offering its love and compassion. Questioner. Would the purpose of transitioning to Earth prior to the complete changeover then be for the experience to be gained here during the harvesting process? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. These entities are not wanderers in that sense that this planetary sphere is their fourth density home planet. However, the experience of this service is earned only by those harvested third density entities which have demonstrated a great deal of orientation towards service to others. It is a privilege to be allowed this early in incarnation, as there is much experiential catalyst in service to other selves at this harvesting. Questioner. There are many children now who demonstrate the ability to bend metal mentally, which is a fourth density phenomenon. Would most of these children then be this type of entity of which we speak? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Is the reason that they can do this and that the fifth and sixth density wanderers who are here cannot do it the fact that they have the fourth density body in activation? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Wanderers are third density activated in mind, body, spirit, and are subject to the forgetting which can only be penetrated with disciplined meditation and working. Questioner. I am assuming that the reason for this is that, first, since the entities of harvestable third density who have very recently come here, they come here late enough so that they will not affect the, shall I say, polarization through their teachings. They are not infringing on the first distortion because they are children now, and they won't be old enough to really affect any of the polarization until the transition is well into transition. However, the wanderers who came here and are older and have greater ability to affect polarization must do that affecting as a function of their ability to penetrate the forgetting process in order to be within the first distortion. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is quite correct. Questioner. It would seem to me that some of the harvestable third density entities are, however, relatively old, since I know of some individuals who can bend metal who are over 50 years old and some over 30. Would there be other entities who can bend metal for other reasons than having dual activated bodies? I am Ra. This is correct. An entity who, by accident or by careful design, penetrates intelligent energy's gateway may use the shaping powers of this energy. Questioner. Okay. Now, as this transition continues into fourth density activation, In order to inhabit this fourth density sphere, it will be necessary for all third density physical bodies to go through the process which we refer to as death. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Now, are there any inhabitants at this time of the fourth density sphere who have already gone through this process? Is it now being populated? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct only in the very, shall we say, recent past. Questioner. I would assume this population is from other planets since the harvesting has not yet occurred on this planet. It is from the planets where the harvesting has already occurred. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Then are these entities visible to us? Could I see one of them? Would he walk upon our surface? Ra. I am Ra. We have discussed this. These entities are dual bodies at this time. Questioner. Sorry, I am so stupid on this. But this particular concept is very difficult for me to understand. It is something that I am afraid requires some rather dumb questions on my part to fully understand. I don't think I'll ever fully understand, but inaudible, even get a grasp of it. Then as the fourth density sphere is activated, there is heat energy being generated. I assume that this heat energy is generated in the third density sphere only. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is quite correct. The experiential distortions of each dimension are discrete. Questioner. Then at some time in the future, the fourth density sphere will be fully activated. What is the difference between full activation and partial activation for this sphere? Ra. I am Ra. At this time, the cosmic influxes are conducive to true color green core particles being formed and material of this nature thus being formed. However, there is a mixture of the yellow ray and green ray environments at this time, necessitating the birthing of transitional mind-body-spirit complex types of energy distortions. At full activation of the true color green density of love, the planetary sphere will be solid and inhabitable upon its own, and the birthing that takes place will have been transformed through the process of time, shall we say, to the appropriate type of vehicle to appreciate in full the fourth density planetary environment. At this nexus, the green ray environment exists to a far greater extent in time-space than in space-time. Questioner. Could you describe the difference that you are speaking with respect to time-space and space-time? Ra. I am Ra. For the sake of your understandings, we will use the working definition of inner planes. There is a great deal of subtlety invested in the sound vibratory complex, but it, by itself, will perhaps fulfill your present need. Questioner. I will make this statement, and you correct me. What we have is, as our planet is spiraled by the spiraling action of the entire major galaxy, as the big wheel in the sky turns and our planetary system spirals into a new position, the fourth density vibration becomes more and more pronounced. These atomic core vibrations begin to create more and more completely the green, that is, the green core vibrations complete more and more complete the fourth density sphere, and the fourth density bodily complexes for inhabitation of that sphere. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is partially correct. To be corrected is the concept of the creation of green ray density bodily complexes. This creation will be gradual and will take place beginning with your third density type of physical vehicle and, through the means of bisexual reproduction, become by evolutionary processes the fourth density body complexes. Questioner. Then are these entities of which we spoke, the third density harvestable, who have been transferred? Are they the ones who then will, by bisexual reproduction, create the fourth density complexes that are necessary? Ra. I am Ra. The influxes of true color green energy complexes will more and more create the conditions in which the atomic structure of cells of bodily complexes is that of the density of love. The mind-body-spirit complexes inhabiting these physical vehicles will be, and to some extent are, those of whom you spoke, and, as harvest is completed, the harvested entities of this planetary influence. Questioner. Is there a clock-like face, shall I say, associated with the entire major galaxy of many billions of stars, so that as it resolves, it carries all of these stars and planetary systems through transitions from density to density? Is this how it works? Ra. I am Ra. You are perceptive. You may see a three-dimensional clock face or spiral of endlessness, which is planned by the Logos for this purpose. Questioner. I understand that the Logos did not plan for the heating effect that occurs in our third density transitions into fourth. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct, except for the condition of free will, which is, of course, planned by the Logos, as it itself is a creature of free will. In this climate, an infinity of events or conditions may occur. They cannot be said to be planned by the Logos, but can be said to have been freely allowed. Questioner. It would seem to me the heating effect that takes place on the planet is analogous to a disease in the body and would have as a root cause the same or analogous mental configuration. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct, except that the spiritual configuration, as well as the mental biases of your people, have been responsible for these distortions of the body complex of your planetary sphere. Questioner. When the third density goes out of activation and into potentiation, that will leave us with a planet that is first, second, and fourth density. At that time, there will be no activated third density vibrations on this planet. Am I correct in assuming that all third density vibrations on this planet now are those vibrations that compose the bodily complex of entities such as us, and that there is a sum total of third density vibrations on this planet at this time? Ra. I am Ra. This will be the last full query of this working. This instrument has energy left due to transfer, but there is discomfort. We do not wish to deplete this instrument. May we say that this instrument seems in better configuration, despite attack, than previous workings. To answer your query, this is incorrect only in that, in addition to the mind-body-spirit complexes of third density, there are the artifacts, thought forms, and feelings which these co-creators have produced. This is third density. May we answer any brief queries as we leave this instrument? Questioner. Is there anything we can do to make this instrument more comfortable or improve the contact? Ra. I am Ra. You are conscientious. All is well. We leave you now, my friends, in the glory of the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, then, rejoicing in the power and peace of the infinite Creator. Adonai. So, yeah, session 63 had a bunch of stuff. It's on the Fringe, by the way, with Dan RadioStyle, for those of you that may not know. And we're doing the Law of One, something that's very precious and near to my heart. I think it's beautiful. All said. Session 63. So I want to kind of go through my quick notes, and then we'll get into I got some questions as well. So for those that serve, many of us, especially those of us that have had that longing for many, many months, if you will, to serve, always trying to help others, always just something baked into you. We've been attacked for years. Most of us, if we've stayed under the radar, by the way, we've not gotten attacked as hard. But once you start putting your neck out on that chopping block, you're going to get some psychic attack, and the extremities of it are just, well, they can happen. Now, here's the thing, just for all you guys, you're always okay. Armor of God, no matter what, you're conscious of yourself. The only thing they can really do is they can affect thoughts in your head, if you will. They can inject thoughts into your head, because again, ultimately, you're always perceiving what's around you. A lot of us don't realize that, and it takes some practice getting used to, but you've just got an open microphone. All of us do. And that is what this concept of talking telepathically and stuff like that. It's that microphone. It's just on. All you got to do is project, and anybody really can pick it up. They just don't know it most of the time because we're not used to it. That said, you can be addressed that way. And a lot of people, because of ego, will start going down paths and making choices and doing actions that can harm themselves, or thoughts that can create dis-ease inside their bodies. And this harms ourselves. So this is how they get us. They can't like grab you by the neck and just strangle you. Whoops, I should put myself on the screen, shouldn't I? But they can't do that to you. But they can tempt you to do things that you probably wish you wouldn't have. So that is just important to keep that in mind. Because you guys, a lot of people get freaked out. Oh my God, they're going to get me. No, all they can do is put thoughts into your head. Okay. The good guys are putting thoughts into your head too. Right? The whole idea, the red angel and the white, or the red devil and the white angel or whatever, however, I might have the sides backwards, but whatever. That concept is gold. That's exactly what it is. You've got a good guy and a bad guy always constantly talking. Which one wins? That's the 50-50 split for service to others, service to self. Fourth density graduation. So there's going to be fourth density negative. They're going to graduate. They're going to go someplace else altogether, which is cool. They're going to have their own experience. They're going to experience it, though, in an interesting way. Most likely, things are going to play out. I find this for fourth density negative, and fourth density negative will play out how each fourth density negative person expects it to be. That's how it'll happen, whatever it is, right? If it's the end of the world and all is nigh, because it might be, they will experience that. Tidal wave comes and takes them out, whatever it is. They'll get to live through that experience, and then they'll reincarnate or be reborn, if you will, into fourth density negative experience. That's not going to be the same planet we're on, or fourth density positive anyways, because that's where I'm going to be. Fourth density positive is going to happen on Earth. Earth is going to ascend. Now, there's discussions whether or not it's this physical location or what. Whether or not this is another planet and then we have another moon. Or I've heard some interesting thoughts on it. All I can speak to is I've experienced the energy that we call Gaia, simply, and she's alive. So whether that's a concept that exists as a larger multiple body individual, like that's very likely. Like if you were to connect to say a sun energy, right, you would experience its outer bodies as well. So it's entirely possible that Gaia is a multi-object being, at least in fourth density. So something to think about in that regards. 60 million wanderers versus 600 million wanderers. That's a huge difference, by the way, but 60 million is still quite a few. There's a lot of us, folks, and most of you guys probably are wanderers and just trying to figure out why am I different than others mostly. Service to other selves, what most of us are. That's basically what I've said. Wanderers, remembering we have it baked into us, the service to others concept. Like it's just baked into us like an easy bake oven. Like we have been through this training so many times. We've graduated so many times. You and I are the wanderers, okay? You guys, you and I, that we are so ingrained in us that no matter how crazy, chaotic, turned around, like, right? Like no matter how much we feel like that, we'll upright, we'll realize it, we'll figure it out, and we'll come to terms with how we need to treat others. It's just how we're wired. Some of us don't make it. Most of us do. Again, ego is a tricky thing, but most of us just naturally progress that way. So that's important. Third density death versus the fourth density experience. Now, I'm just going to say something really crazy, and give me a second, and then I take it for what it's worth, okay? Because I think I can't. Every one of us is in different varying places when it comes to this concept of how this transition will occur, right? If you're an individual that's actually raptured, right? You're one of the people that God takes up. What is that experience like? Well, you're likely maybe going to find out. Or say you're somebody that's in the 4D positive, going to stay here, and we're going to transition onto this new Gaia complex that's going to exist. How does that experience occur? Versus if you're somebody that's 4D negative and you're going to go through your experience, how does that experience manifest itself? What is your experience of that? What do you see? What do you experience? So I'm going to talk about what I think to be the fourth D staying on this Earth complex. I'm going to try to touch on some of the other stuff, but I don't know for sure. Like the example, people that are going to stay in 3D, they'll probably experience, I mean, there's a myriad of things, but they're going to, whatever they believe, whatever your belief is, if it's what's in the Bible, the end is nigh in that direction, or there's going to be a nuclear war, or there's going to be some sort of weird, like you might very well experience that. That might be your form of how rapture occurs, or somehow you just like believe that you're going to be taken up in a chariot or something, right? Like I don't know what's in the mind, but the belief is going to matter. And it'll be something that works for that. Or if you need to die completely, then that'll happen and you'll be reborn in the new place, new life. But from the standpoint of 4D positive, I do think One thing they've always talked about when birthing happens is from the soul coming into the real world, like the experience of that. This has been explained by a lot of people that have had near-death experiences, something that I've actually read a lot about. And when they come in, there's usually a light, like a tunnel of light. And then you come into this reality. And that is the birthing process that they talk about. And many could say it's the, coming out of the, the vaginal area, right? Whatever. But the idea of like, coming out like, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, tearing it down or whatever. You've got that light concept. And many people talk about a bright flashing light in the sky. I feel like the two are connected. Maybe there's darkness before that happens, whatever. I don't know exactly how that plays out. But I do think that might very well happen because it very much feels like a birthing process. So that, I think, is part of that 4D sort of enhanced. And then as far as 4D negative, I have no idea what the hell they're going to experience. I think I have no idea what they're going to experience, frankly. Sorry. Most wanderers have already ascended. Like we're here to help. We've done this before. We come from a higher density down. That's why a lot of us are like, I just want to help, right? So flash birthing, I said that. And then as evil leaves, as more and more of the evil disappears from this planet, the green ray energy is going to become more and more prevalent because so many of us are carrying that energy, and so many people that are ascending are experiencing that energy. And so that energy is going to prevail. And that's also going to help push out a lot of the 4D negative and 3D negative for that matter. And probably 3D positive, frankly, because the level of love, they're just not ready for that yet. It's too much. So yeah, we're gonna have some pretty crazy experiences. All right, I got some questions. I'm already long. It's fantastic. Let's see. First question. All right, this is from Think. All right, I have a question for 63. Question is the planetary shift from third to fourth density and the dispersion of those who will remain in third density to other locations. Could we expect to have other higher density entities migrate to our planet? 4D positive. Could other people migrate to it that want to serve a 4D positive? Yes, there's probably going to be some transitory teams, even like people like myself. I mean, not to sound weird, but I think a lot of us will trail over and blend into and help with that transition because it might be a little confusing, and maybe some of us are voices that are familiar, or others might come in that are better at it than myself. But yeah, that's I think that kind of stuff will happen. Let's see. A second question from this individual. Question is, in this, it was mentioned that our physical makeup will shift. Do you think other things such as weather and physical makeup of our planet may also be altered? Yeah, I think weather and stuff to that extent, that concept will likely not exist the same way. There's not necessary for that catalyst to exist. The Earth, many talk about the Earth in the atom, the Garden of Eden days, if you will. And the temperature between pole to equator was something like 7 degree difference. And I'm thinking Fahrenheit, maybe it was Celsius, but it was not a whole lot different. So you would have pretty much a really awesome experience, and it was a paradise on this planet. And so from the concept of us moving into more of that kind of world, I think that's not necessary. But well, I mean, that's my take on it. That's my take. Let's see, Maggie. Do you know of anyone who could be capable of bending metal? Do I personally know anyone capable of bending metal? Yes. Second question from Maggie. Do you know if anyone with gifts of the mind that cannot be explained? Yes. Patriot Daryl. Question. Do we ever reach a density where we bring our past life knowledge with us into a new life? Many of you do currently, by the way. So your question is, yes, you will for sure become more and more aware of your past lives. When we go into fourth density, I would assume my expectation, maybe it's sixth where it's actually probably more sixth where you're very, very aware of all your lives. But down at the fourth density, yeah, it is. You're going to be aware. It's going to bleed through. And that's one of the reasons why it doesn't happen easily, because the bleeding through creates psychosis issues. A lot of people running around going, I'm a spy, right? Like, and you're like, dude, this dude's nuts. But the reality is they might be tapping into one of those other lives and believing it and living it here in this. And it's one of those moments where you see it's almost like the Philadelphia experiment, but you see this weird moment where like different times can kind of come in and out of each other, and you will see some weird stuff, experience some weird stuff. I've had some weird moments where I've popped into other places and you're like, for a second, you're like the pressure will change. Like, it's weird. Like, I just entered into a whole different place and then it'll change. And I'm like, okay, what the shit just happened? Because that's not normal. So it can totally for sure happen. Unquestionably. All right. I think I got all the questions. Cool. Let's hop into, I feel like I'm so long. We're going to hop into 64. This is a great one. It is Lav 1. And we'll talk more about this once we get past this one. 64, recorded July 26, 1981. Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now. Questioner. Could you first tell me the condition of the instrument? Ra. I am Ra. It is as previously stated, with the exception of a transitory distortion lessening the free flow of vital energy. Questioner. Can you tell me what the transitory distortion is? Ra. I am Ra. This is marginal information. Questioner. Then we won't question on it. I would like to ask first about a mistake I believe that I might have made in the last session on a number of wanderers on Earth today. Did I make an error? Ra. I am Ra. You and Ra made an error. The appropriate number of your ciphers is one less than previously stated. Questioner. Thank you. Could you explain the basic principles behind the ritual which we perform to initiate the contact, and what I would call the basic white magical rituals, principles of protection, and other principles? Could you please do this? Ra. I am Ra. Due to your avenue of question, we perceive the appropriateness of inclusion of the cause of the instrument's transitory vital energy distortion. The cause is a bias towards the yearning for expression of devotion to the one creator in group worship. This entity was yearning for this protection both consciously, in that it responds to the accoutrements of this expression, the rituals, the colors, and their meanings as given by the distortion system of what you call the church, the song of praise, and the combined prayers of thanksgiving, and, most of all, that which may be seen to be most centrally magical, the intake of that food which is not of this dimension, but has been transmuted into metaphysical nourishment in what this distortion of expression calls the Holy Communion. The subconscious reason, it being the stronger for this yearning, was the awareness that such expression is, when appreciated by an entity as the transmutation into the presence of the one creator, a great protection of the entity as it moves in the path of service to others. The principle behind any ritual of the white magical nature is to so configure the stimuli which reach down into the trunk of mind that this arrangement causes the generation of disciplined and purified emotion or love, which then may be both protection and the key to the gateway to intelligent infinity. Questioner, can you tell me why the slight error made in the ritual starting this communication 2 sessions ago allowed the intrusion of one Orion-affiliated entity? Ra. I am Ra. This contact is narrow-band, and its preconditions precise. The other self, offering its service in the negative path, also is possessed of the skill of the swordsman. You deal in this contact with, shall we say, forces of great intensity poured into a vessel as delicate as a snowflake and as crystalline. The smallest of lapses may disturb the regularity of this pattern of energies which forms the channel for these transmissions. We may note, for your information, that the pause was due to the necessity of being quite sure that the mind-body-spirit complex of the instrument was safely in the proper light configuration or density before we dealt with the situation. Far better would it be to allow the shell to become unviable than to allow the mind-body-spirit complex to be, shall we say, misplaced. Questioner, could you describe or tell me of rituals or techniques used by Ra in seeking in the direction of service? Ra. I am Ra. To speak of that which 6-density social memory complexes labor within in order to advance is at best misprision of plain communication, for much is lost in transmission of concept from density to density, and the discussion of 6-density is inevitably distorted greatly. However, we shall attempt to speak to your query, for it is a helpful one, in that it allows us to express once again the total unity of creation. We seek the Creator upon a level of shared experience to which you are not privy, and rather than surrounding ourselves in light, we have become light. Our understanding is that there is no other material except light, Our rituals, as you may call them, are an infinitely subtle continuation of the balancing process which you are now beginning to experience. We seek now without polarity. Thus, we do not invoke any power from without, for our search has become internalized as we become light-love and love-light. These are the balances we seek, the balances between compassion and wisdom, which more and more allow our understanding of experience to be informed that we may come closer to the unity with the one Creator, which we so joyfully seek. Your rituals at your level of progress contain the concept of polarization, and this is most central at your particular space-time. We may answer further if you have specific queries. Questioner: would it be helpful if Ra were to describe the technique used while Ra was in third density to evolve in mind, body, and spirit? Ra: I am Ra. This query lies beyond the law of confusion. Questioner: what about fourth density experience of Ra? Would that also lie beyond the law of confusion? Ra: I am Ra. This is correct. Let us express a thought. Ra is not elite. To speak of our specific experiences to a group which honors us is to guide to the point of a specific advising. Our work was that of your peoples, of experiencing the catalyst of joys and sorrows. Our circumstances were somewhat more harmonious. Let it be said that any entity or group may create the most splendid harmony in any outer atmosphere. Ra's experiences are no more than your own. Yours is the dance at this space-time in third density harvest. Questioner: the question was brought up recently having to do with possible records left near, in, or under the Great Pyramid at Giza. I have no idea whether this would be of benefit. I will just ask if there is any benefit in investigating in this area. Ra: I am Ra. We apologize for seeming to be so shy of information. However, any words upon this particular subject create the possibility of infringement upon free will. Questioner: in a previous session, you mentioned the gateway of magic for the adept occurring in the 18-day cycles. Could you expand on that information, please? Ra: I am Ra. The mind-body-spirit complex is born under a series of influences, both lunar, planetary, cosmic, and in some cases, karmic. The moment of the birthing into this illusion begins the cycles we have mentioned. The spiritual or adept's cycle is an 18-day cycle and operates with the qualities of the sine wave. Thus, there are a few excellent days on the positive side of the curve, that being the first 9 days of the cycle, precisely the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th, when workings are the most appropriately undertaken, given that the entity is still without total conscious control of its mind-body-spirit distortion reality. The most interesting portion of this information, like that of each cycle, is the noting of the critical point wherein, passing from the 9th to the 10th, and from the 18th to the 1st days, the adept will experience some difficulty, especially when there is a transition occurring in another cycle at the same time. At the nadir of each cycle, the adept will be at its least powerful, but will not be open to difficulties in nearly the degree that it experiences at critical times. Questioner: then to find the cycles, we would take the instant of birth and the emerging of the infant from the mother into the density and start the cycle at that instant and continue it through the lifetime. Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is mostly correct. It is not necessary to identify the instant of birthing. The diurnal cycle upon which this event occurs is satisfactory for all but the most fine workings. Questioner: now, am I correct in assuming that whatever magic the adept would perform would be more successful, or, shall we say, more to his design than that performed at less opportune times in the cycle? Ra: I am Ra. This cycle is a helpful tool to the adept, but as we said, as the adept becomes more balanced, the workings designed will be dependent less and less upon these cycles of opportunity, and more even in their efficacy. Questioner: I have no ability to judge at what point, at what levels of abilities the adept would reach this point of being, shall we say, independent of the cyclical action. Can you give me an indication of what level of adeptness that would be necessary to be so independent? Ra: I am Ra. We are fettered from speaking specifically due to this group's working, for to speak would seem to be to judge. However, we may say that you may consider this cycle in the same light as the so-called astrological balances within your group. That is, they are interesting, but not critical. Questioner, thank you. I read that recent research has indicated that the normal sleep cycle for entities on this planet occurs 1 hour later each diurnal period, so that we have a 25-hour cycle instead of a 24. Is this correct? And if so, why is this? Ra. I am Ra. This is in some cases correct. The planetary influence from which those of Mars experience memory have some effect upon these third-density physical bodily complexes. This race has given its genetic material to many bodies upon your plane. Questioner, thank you. Ra mentioned the ones Stewart and Douglas in a recent session. These are members of what we call our medical profession. What is the value, overall value, shall I say, of modern medical technique in alleviating bodily distortions with respect to the purpose for these distortions and what we might call karma and other effects? Ra, I am Ra. This query is convoluted. However, we shall make some observations in lieu of attempting one coherent answer, for that which is allopathic among your healing practices is somewhat two-sided. Firstly, you must see the probability that each and every allopathic healer is in fact a healer. Within your cultural nexus, this training is considered the appropriate means of perfecting the healing ability. In the most basic sense, any allopathic healer may be seen to, perhaps, be one who desires is service to others in alleviation of bodily complexes and mental-emotional complex distortions, so that the entity to be healed may experience further catalysts over a longer period of what you call the life. This is a great service to others when appropriate, due to the accumulation of distortions towards wisdom and love, which can be created through the use of space-time continuum of your illusion. In observing the allopathic concept of the body complex as the machine, we may note the symptomology of a societal complex seemingly dedicated to the most intransient desire for the distortions of distraction, anonymity, and sleep. This is the result rather than the cause of the societal thinking upon your plane. In turn, this mechanical concept of the bodily complex has created the continuing proliferation of distortions towards what you would call ill health due to the strong chemicals used to control and hide bodily distortions. There is a realization among many of your peoples that there are more efficacious systems of healing, not excluding the allopathic, but also including the many other avenues of healing. Questioner, let us assume that a bodily distortion occurs within a particular entity, who then has a choice of seeking allopathic aid or experiencing the catalyst of the distortions and not seeking correction of the distortion. Can you comment on the two possibilities for this entity and his analysis of each path? Ra, I am Ra. If the entity is polarized towards service to others, analysis properly proceeds along the lines of consideration of which path offers the most opportunity for service to others. For the negatively polarized entity, the antithesis is the case. For the unpolarized entity, the considerations are random and most likely in the direction of the distortions towards comfort. Questioner, did Dr. Monroe, I understand, brought a 4-toed Bigfoot cast by here the other day? Could you tell me of which form of Bigfoot that cast was from? Ra, I am Ra. We can. Questioner, I know it is totally unimportant, but as a service to Dr. Monroe, I thought that I should ask. Ra, I am Ra. This entity was one of the small groups of thought forms. Questioner, he also asked, and I know this is unimportant, why there were no Bigfoot remains found, that is, after the Bigfoot entities had died on our surface. He had asked why there has never been any remains of these entities found. Could you answer this for him? It's just of no importance, but just as a service to him I ask it. Ra, I am Ra. You may suggest that exploration of the caves which underlie some of the western coastal mountain regions of your continent will one day offer such remains. They will not be generally understood if this culture survives in its present form long enough in your time measurement for this probability-possibility vortex to occur. There is enough energy for one more full query at this time. Questioner, in the healing exercises, when you say examine the sensations of the body, do you mean those sensations available to the body via the 5 senses, or in relation to the natural functions of the body, such as touching, loving, sexual sharing, and company, or are you speaking of something else altogether? Ra. I am Ra. The questioner may perceive its bodily complex at this moment. It is experiencing sensations. Most of these sensations, or in this case, nearly all of them, are transient and without interest. However, the body is the creature of the mind. Certain sensations carry importance due to the charge or power which is felt by the mind upon the experience of this sensation. For instance, at this space-time nexus, one sensation is carrying a powerful charge and may be examined. This is the sensation of what you would call distortion towards discomfort due to the cramped position of the bodily complex during this working. In balancing, you would then explore this sensation. Why is this sensation powerful? Because it was chosen in order that the entity might be of service to others in energizing this contact. Each sensation that leaves the aftertaste of meaning upon the mind, that leaves the taste within the memory, shall be examined. These are the sensations of which we speak. May we answer any brief queries before we leave this instrument? Questioner, is there anything that we could do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact? Ra, I am Ra. Continue to consider the alignments. You are conscientious and aware of the means of caring for the instrument in its present distortions having to do with the wrists and hands. As always, love is the greatest protection. I am Ra. I leave you, my friends, in the glorious love and joyful light of the infinite Creator. Go forth, then, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite Creator, Adonai. I can't even say how cool that is. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle, by the way. Lob 1. We've got a really cool thing going on in chat. We're going to talk about that at a point, but you guys keep it going. Don't let me stop you by any stretch of the imagination. Super cool, in fact. It's very cool. Yamatatsu, you're I knew you were a brother from another mother. I just knew it. I knew it. Anyway, starting off with my notes, and then I think probably got some questions. We'll see. We all have a unique info that comes in from time to time. So when I talked about that microphone that's just open, there is that narrow band. And those that are close to you will oftentimes hit that. And when you focus on it too much, you can mess up that narrow band. If you're out of sync, you can mess up that narrow band. But when you got it dialed in, you'll almost know it. You kind of feel it, like you'll there's an energy that comes with it too, like a download almost. But I don't know. I don't want to over like mess up what your mind might think it'll be. That you will feel it more than just getting information trickling in, like some voice in your head going, "Hey, you know what? You should do this because you're the greatest in the world." It'll be something that's a little more like, "Well, the pressure changes." Like anyway. Let's see. Oh yeah, I had questions. Let's see. Rituals. Yeah, rituals are important. We'll get there. I think there's one on that. Hang on. Sorry. 18-day cycles is one thing I wanted to mention because that's something they talk about in the sine wave. 9 days, 9 days. Don't get lost in that. Don't get worried about that. But there are cycles in life. Sometimes we have cycles. There's a reason for that. Don't get hung up on what's happening to you and be like, "Oh my God, I'm messing up something." No, you're fine. It's happening for a reason. Dig into it. It's cool. And this is part of the cycles of life, the rhythms, if you will. So you're groovy in there. We have become light. This is what the Ra group said. And that is where they're at in the sixth density is light. And that's ultimately where a lot of us are heading. Sounds crazy, but it's well past where we're at right now. Many rituals have polarity baked into them. This is true all over the place. So rituals aren't necessarily good or bad. I'm not going to say. There's many of them. There's many different types. Church, I think, falls into it. I was part of the Catholic Church. I mean, I grew up in that, and there's rituals like nobody can believe. So it is baked into it. There's a lot of stuff. And there's this concept of good and evil baked into it. And so it creates this concept of polarity in our experience. And things are what they are, I think is an easier way to say it. Like, I mean, some people could say, well, is there only going to be positive? No, things are always a blend. And so many of us here want to make things binary. It's this or this, when in reality, it's shades of that. It's combinations of it. It's yin and yang. There's a little bit of good and that bad. And there's a little bit, who got chocolate on my peanut butter? Who got peanut butter on my chocolate? Like it, I don't know. It happens somehow. We got that yin and yang thing for a reason, right? So it happens. It's groovy. So rituals across the board. Secret societies, churches, are the way when they swear in presidents and crap like that. They're rituals. rituals, and especially in Washington, D.C., if you do any sort of understanding, there's a old crazy shape that you used to be made in there. All right, so I got to call out Yamatatsu. You're a good man. I honestly think, bro, just real quick, because he's doing this cool thing, and I messed with their experiment a little bit, and I apologize. I was curious if it would affect it, and it did, and it should. Yamatatsu, I honestly feel like he's my brother from another mother. There's like this dude, I don't know what it is. Every time he pops in, I'm like, oh, cool, he's there. Like, I don't know what it is. I'm not gay. I just like this dude, though. I don't know what it is. I've never met him in my life other than on TV. He's been on a couple Zoom calls, so like with the groups, like I've met. But, dude, Altered Carbon, I don't know if you've ever seen that, Yamatatsu, but if you haven't, you got to watch that show. And anybody out there, it's an amazing series. There's like 2 seasons of it. It is not easy to get a hold of. But for some reason, like you're like my brother from like that show. Kind of, I feel like explains it in a weird way. My connection to you, I don't know what it is, but he's doing this thing with people's fingers and feeling pressure, and he's connecting to people in the audience, which is super cool. And he's basically what I was going to say is demonstrating his abilities, which I think is why I have a connection to you, sir. I think you and I are coming at things from maybe different ways, but certainly in the same plane. And I think that's extraordinarily cool. But he was doing this thing with people, and he was focusing and getting them to focus, and then he could feel which fingers that he was putting pressure towards or tingling or whatever. And so what I was doing on one of them is I was doing this with my fingers back and forth, just messing with my fingers like back and forth. And so I did it like for I don't know, 30 seconds. And I knew it would create this like haze. And so anyway, Yamatatsu, that's what I was doing. And I had it's funny how thought can work, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping you take that for where it should be, because I think it was a cool experiment, and that's why I did it. I just wanted to see what would happen. Healing, allopathic, mind belief. So when it comes to healing, it's really important that you get the individual that's being healed to believe that the healing is occurring. Again, the idea of the mind is so powerful. And it's one of the things they keep talking about, because it was a big deal with this group and trying to heal Carla and just everything that was in it. And Carla was going through the experience that she signed up for, frankly. I mean, it really is what it played out to. But the concept of allopathic healings, like healthier healings, things that aren't drugs and things like that, there's a level of belief that occurs. It's kind of like that. You're drinking you're like that, the group, right? They have 2 groups, one that's taking the actual medicine, the other takes placebo. Like, it's kind of like you're almost placeboing, not that you are, but when you believe that the effect is going to come because of the thing, it has a very powerful ability on ourselves, on our psyche, on our abilities. And even from the standpoint of what Yamatatsu is doing, connecting with another individual. You know, you can very easily just think of someone and be with them for a moment, and they can think of you, and you just create a bridge instantly. It's like I call it thought transmission in my old show. So all said, that is, I think, cool stuff that happens. They did talk about Bigfoot in there. He did mention his friend. A lot of Bigfoots are unique characters that are. I heard someone show recently, very recently, like today maybe, talking about how they might have the ability to affect what you perceive them as, meaning they could turn and walk away and just walk into nothing. And it's because they made you see that, and they almost went like kind of stealth. And so there is that concept of affecting someone's psyche consciousness, not in a permanent way, but like it's like a conscious stealth, if you will. And, you know, certain people evolved far enough can see through it. Others, no. And again, I don't know where I would fall on that. I would be curious. Like, I haven't met a Bigfoot yet. I've seen a lot of crazy shit, by the way, but not seen a Bigfoot yet. I don't know. I don't like running around in forests, frankly. There's bears and other stuff, you know, lions and tigers and bears. And then I just like, oh my God, hey, all right, it's not good. So all that said, okay, we got some questions. Let's get these going, and then we'll get the final hangout session with everybody. Let's see, Arlene, do you have anything new no, we got no new questions. So there you go. I mean, I think let's see what else jumps out at me. I covered everything. I covered it all. Nothing's jumping out at me. And Yamatatsu, you're a rock star, brother. You guys have done an amazing job holding down the fort out there. And yeah, it's cool tech. All right, guys, we're going to share the link to the to this. I'm gonna see if I can do this while I'm on it at the moment, because that'll copy invite link. All right, cool. Here's the link to you guys in chat. Boom. And guys, we're gonna close out, and I'll talk to my good friends in the chat afterwards. But certainly, we're working together, guys. That's why I always say, where we go one, we go all, because we are working together. And of course, Law of One, I think, helps with that as well. We are certainly, no matter what, no matter how you say it, we are on the fringe. This is Dan Radio.
Meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a big bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The big bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.